Welcome to the Deficient Vegans podcast. I'm the Muscle Deficient Vegan here with the Protein Deficient Vegan. Do you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi, everybody. This is episode 32, and this week we're going to talk about choosing a type of exercise between cardio and lifting weights. But first up, new news.
New news.
So the first piece of news here, we don't have much information about it yet, but Chomp Chocolate, who used to be a vegan chocolate brand, and then kind of had a side quest into...
On Chonk Chocolate?
Something like that, yeah.
Or like a make your own chocolate bar situation.
Right. So they posted, I think it was this morning on Instagram, basically they're having some kind of Chomp 2.0 or 3.0 relaunch on January 9th. And they had it tagged, hashtag vegan, hashtag plant-based. So I think maybe they're going back to fully vegan chocolate.
Yeah, I don't know. This has been quite the journey. Because we used to buy Chomp Chocolate all the time. It's like, it was a fully vegan chocolate company, and they had the Nut Pucks, which were kind of like a Reese's Cup, and like a couple other really good...
The crispy chocolate bar.
Yeah. And like, I think chocolate-covered marshmallows, all kinds of shit, really.
Yeah, right.
And they were all really, really good. And then I guess, I think it was mostly around like the price of cocoa that's ethically sourced, as well as like just the manufacturing time and efforts. Like they couldn't get it to a cost point that was like cost effective and would sell and was fair price. So it sounded like a couple months ago they went to Chonk Chocolate, in which they were just going to make the bars, but they weren't going to be using their own chocolate anymore. They were going to be using source chocolate from other companies.
Yeah, they were losing some control of the manufacturing there.
Right, which is why they had to offer YeastUP. But there's like basically a make your own bar with mix-ins. And I think that's been up for a couple of months now. And I know the actual owner of Chomp Chocolate is a vegan. So he had a lot of moral and ethical struggles on this one to like even add in a dairy option. So sounds like he's been playing around in the kitchen and has come up with potentially Chomp 2.0 or 3.0.
Yeah.
So exciting to see what it's going to be.
Yeah, hopefully they go back to all vegan chocolate. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, he seems like a good dude that wants to do like the right thing by vegan. I hope he can make it work because he makes great food. So
yeah, well, we'll keep an eye on that, and we'll keep you guys updated if you're into chocolate.
Which why wouldn't you be?
Right. Yeah. Next, Ikea, the big furniture company with the famously detailed instruction.
Dude, that store is crazy.
Oh, it is.
I could get lost in that store.
I think
literally.
That's the goal, actually. They want you to get lost in that store.
No.
There's like side doors where you can take shortcuts through sections and you just get totally turned around.
It's so intense.
You also have to go through the entire store to get to the checkout.
They also have an online store, so you can just do that option.
But a lot of things they won't deliver online, so
That's
you still
true.
have to go to the store.
Yeah, I know. You've picked up a couple bookshelves for our massive book collection.
But yeah, Ikea became the majority owner of a Swedish brand called The Green Dairy. That brand is a plant-based food brand, but they also do something called oat pulp upcycling, which is when they make like their oat milks, they take the pulp from the oat where they processed it, and they sell that as oat protein to other companies to make food products.
That's interesting. I mean, protein, huh? Like, I wonder what percentage of protein that actually is, because it still probably has all the carbs and the fat, It's just the pulp of it.
Yeah.
I think oats are like only around 10 or 12% protein or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think they're putting it in, like the other companies use it in protein bars and like meat replacements. The oat pulp thing they have is called Re-Oat. So they had an example. They had like a Re-Oat burger patty, basically, to kind of showcase what you could do with the product.
That's interesting. I'd be really interested to see the macro profile on it.
Yeah.
I wonder if one day they'll make like textured oat protein.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I'd use the shit out of that.
Turn everything into protein.
Yeah. I want textured anything protein.
Yeah. And then last up, there's a company called YeastUP in Switzerland that opened a facility to turn beer brewing waste yeast into protein. This is mainly marketed as an egg replacer. Yeah.
This is really interesting to me because I worked in an ethanol plant for like 7 years as a process engineer. So I went down a big-ass rabbit hole today looking at, because like, the differences between beer making and, ethanol that you would use in your car. There's like some slight differences of when they pull out the solids and stuff in the fermentation process. So I don't know. This is kind of interesting. There's also like a byproduct called distiller's grain or brewer's spent grain, which is also like 25 to 30% protein. So I'd be interested if they ever turn that into like a human product, because that's right now, along with the spent yeast, it's used for animal feed. That's also rich in fiber. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know. it's always something you wonder, especially if the world ever really went vegan, like where would the byproduct for beer and ethanol production go? Because right now it's going to animal feed.
Yeah, we just turn it all into protein.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeast textured protein.
Yeah, so
corn textured protein. Call me up, guys. I'm here.
You got a lot of ideas.
I've got a lot of ethanol-based experience and ideas of how to turn things into cookies.
It's all led to this.
My whole life I've been preparing.
It worked out. They're great cookies. All right, that's the news. Let's get into our main topic here, cardio versus lifting weights. It's not really a versus. We're just going to talk about kind of both of them. So,
like the differences?
Yeah, the differences.
I think I can simplify this.
Oh, let's do it.
Okay, so cardio is like moving, right? And then lifting weights is like lifting weights.
No, you nailed it. I think we can wrap it up.
I think we can too. Well, it's good talking to you guys.
All right. So when it comes to exercise, people have different personal goals and varying levels of time available to fit in workouts to kind of get towards those goals, right? So because of this, people often ask if they should focus on cardio or if they should focus on some kind of resistance training like lifting weights. And I'm using lifting weights here, but really there are a lot of different kinds of resistance training. It could be calisthenics, it could be like Olympic weightlifting, powerlifting, anything like that, but just some kind of resistance training.
Yeah, it could even be like resistant bands if you don't have actual weights, right?
Sure.
Or body weight exercises.
Yeah, definitely. So to help understand how we might choose which one to do with our limited time, let's just briefly first cover the benefits of each. So first up, for cardio, some of the benefits are that it improves heart and lung health, function, and efficiency, which is kind of the main benefit of cardio. It also makes daily activity feel easier. So like going up and down stairs, taking a long walk from a far parking spot, something like that. If you're doing cardio regularly, those things aren't going to feel like anything, basically.
Well, it depends on what floor you're going to.
Well, sure. We're climbing up Sears Tower. We might not be able to do enough cardio to overcome that.
No, I have a friend that lives pretty high up in an apartment building in Chicago, and I think she said one time the elevator broke, and that was a lot. It was many, many floors.
Well, cardio will prepare you for something like that, at least. It will help.
What will prepare me mentally, though?
No, nothing. It also improves work capacity, and work capacity is just a fancy word for like how much you can do in a lifting session or with some kind of sport or exercise. So you'll just be able to maybe do a couple more reps, a couple more sets if we're talking about lifting. Also improves your recovery ability. So maybe an example of this is between sets in a workout, your heart rate will come down faster. You'll feel more recovered faster. So you won't need maybe 5 or 6 minutes between sets of squats. You'll just need a minute or two. Also, cardio helps create a calorie deficit. It does burn some calories, not as much as people think most of the time. But if you're trying to get in a calorie deficit to lose some weight, cardio can definitely help with that.
You mean the numbers the treadmill tells me aren't true?
No, they're never true.
That's so sad.
No, the numbers on the treadmill aren't true. The numbers on your fitness tracker aren't true.
How can we get them to make those true?
Yeah. I think you'd have to give it your height and weight. Then you'd have to hook an oxygen mask up to you that's hooked up to a computer with a scientist standing next to you. It's pretty tricky. They're like rough estimations, but not very helpful. And then also it can lower your resting heart rate and your blood pressure over time. And those are both positive health outcomes for long-term health. So now with lifting, the major benefit of lifting is that it builds and maintains muscle mass. Right, that's what most people are in the gym lifting for, is to grow muscle. It will also improve your strength and power. So if you're in a sport, it's really helpful for that. Or if you just want to be able to, pick things up around the house better, it helps with that as well.
Like if you have kids or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or water bottles.
Ooh, the water bottles at work. Right?
The water bottles at work. It's come in clutch.
Yeah. It also helps improve your bone density, which is a good way to stay healthy. You'll lose a little bit of bone density as you get older, so it's good to build that up before you get old.
Especially for women. Like women have more issues with bone density in general, mostly during menopause, I think.
Yeah. It improves your body composition. Improved body composition would be more muscle, less fat, right? So at the same body weight, you would look more muscular. And then it also reduces injury risk via improved joint and tendon resilience.
Yeah.
Tell
me more.
So as you work out, it's not just your muscles that are getting worked, it's your joints and your tendons. They're adapting over time as well, usually not as fast as muscle. But then when you do something like maybe roll your ankle a little bit, that's a little stronger if you've been lifting, doing things like that.
Now, is there anything you can do to combine cardio and lifting so you don't have to choose?
You can kind of. I don't know if I would. But if you're lifting, you can do shorter rest periods. You can do more reps during a set. Things like that are going to lean more towards cardio, but they're not going to be optimal for some of the benefits you're looking for with lifting weight.
What about like HIIT or CrossFit? Do those do both?
They do both, but it's still more cardio focused and it's not super optimal for trying to build muscle. Although, I mean, it is good mainly because they do high volume anyway. So if you do CrossFit, you're probably going to end up pretty muscular and have pretty good cardio, but you'd probably have better results if you just did dedicated lifting sessions and then dedicated cardio sessions. But if CrossFit is more fun to you, then you can combine them that way.
What about climbing mountains?
That will definitely do both, for sure. Lifting also has some of the benefits of cardio to a lesser degree because your heart rate will get up. But if you use a fitness tracker during your workouts, it won't take you long to see that your average heart rate for a lifting session is quite a bit lower than your average heart rate for a cardio session.
That's assuming you're doing like high weights, lower reps, right? Like if you were just like doing like hundreds of very low weight reps, that could be cardio, right?
I think that would almost be exclusively cardio because you wouldn't be doing much for your muscle.
Yeah, I just want to like clarify this here
Yeah.
because like a lot of I don't think this is as bad as it used to be, but like a lot of what they tell women to do is like super high reps, very low weight.
Yeah.
Which doesn't really give you resistance training so much as it gives you cardio, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. When I say resistance training, I'm thinking 30 reps max. Anything above that is not really muscle building for the most part. I mean, a little bit, but not really great.
Okay.
And sometimes your heart rate will peak if you have a really heavy lift, like if you're doing squats or deadlifts, a good example. You might see your heart rate get up extremely high, very close to your max, but it's just going to be for a few seconds and then it's going to come back down in between your sets. Whereas if you're doing cardio, you can kind of sustain, whatever heart rate you want effectively based on the effort for a much longer time, which is where you get all the benefits to your cardiovascular system. So there are a few different goals somebody could have with exercise in general. A few of these, not an exhaustive list, are you want to build muscle, you want to lose body weight, you want to just improve your general fitness, you want to improve your body composition at a similar weight as you are now, just kind of keep the same weight, improve your body composition.
Yeah, have you ever seen those side-by-side pictures of like women at like various weights, but like different like muscle percentages?
I've seen it for men. I don't know that I've seen it specifically
Oh,
for
it's
women.
really crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very drastic difference based on your body composition. Also, you might want to just maintain your current fitness level. So you're not necessarily worried about your weight. You just want to improve your overall fitness. You might be trying to do a sport-specific improvement. So those are the types of things that might be your goal for doing exercise in general. The most common one is probably losing weight, or more specifically, losing body fat. So we can dive into that one a little bit. So if you're trying to lose weight, you might think that focusing on cardio is the right idea just because it burns more calories. This is really common advice you hear out there. Like if you're trying to lose weight, get on the Stairmaster, go on the elliptical, whatever kind of cardio you might want to do.
Do 2 hours on the treadmill.
Yeah, right. And while it does burn more calories than lifting, the calorie deficit that you need to lose weight is mostly going to be controlled by your food intake. Now, if you go do 2 hours on the treadmill, that will be a pretty significant calorie burn, but at the same time, that's probably going to make you pretty significantly hungry.
Oh, it'll make you really hungry.
So even if you knew how many calories you were burning on the treadmill, if you're just going and eating more after it than you would have otherwise, you're not really in a deficit possibly. If your food intake is already kind of lower than you're comfortable with and you still aren't able to lose weight, you might consider adding more activity. And the most efficient way to do that for calories specifically is to add cardio because it's going to burn the most calories. And that way you don't have to reduce your food intake anymore. And that will help create a bigger deficit. And even if weight loss is your goal, you might still want to focus on lifting so that your body composition is more favorable when you get to your goal weight. It's pretty common for people to lose weight, and on the way down, they'll lose both muscle and fat. And then they're not really happy with the way they look, even at the lower weight, because they also lost some of the muscle mass.
And doesn't muscle burn more calories than fat?
Yeah,
Just like being sedentary even?
Yeah, it does. If you have more muscle mass on you, it is burning some more calories over time. So that's also helpful.
It's like not that much, but
Yeah, every little bit helps at that point, especially when that means I get to eat more food. So I think if you're trying to lose weight, lose body fat, the general recommendation would be like lift at least twice a week to make sure we're, keeping body composition in check, not losing muscle mass. And then do cardio kind of as time allows, but not necessarily for weight benefits. It'd be for like the non-weight related benefits, like helping your heart and lungs, your work capacity, your recovery, things like that.
Okay, now with these recommendations, like do you have a time, like an amount of, you're saying like twice a week or whatever, like how long?
Yeah, so twice a week, it would depend on your program really, but it's usually going to be lifting for like an hour if you have a well-made program.
What about cardio?
So the recommendation from the American Heart Association for adults is to get at least 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity cardio or 75 minutes a week of vigorous cardio, or a combination of both, and preferably spread throughout the week.
What counts as moderate? Is that just walking?
You would just think of it in terms of heart rate, but moderate would be kind of what they refer to as like zone 2 cardio, where it's like you're still just able to have a conversation, whereas vigorous cardio would be like you can't really hold a conversation while you're doing it.
Okay. What if you're just like doing walking? Is that not good enough? There's lots of people that just walk.
So if walking is your preferred method of cardio, to get to the moderate intensity level, they recommend walking at least 2.5 miles an hour. So it would be brisk walking. If you're just out for like a very casual walk, we're not really even in the realm of like a cardio activity for the purposes of the heart recommendations.
Okay. That makes sense.
But it's still good exercise.
So not leisurely walking,
right.
But like...
If you're going to walk with purpose, if we're trying to do it for exercise.
I think most people that are exercising are probably walking with purpose, though. Like around the neighborhood, or like there are people that walk at the mall. Have you seen the mall walkers?
The mall walkers, yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool because, the malls are kind of dying, so.
In case you didn't know, some malls, I think, actually open early for mall walkers before the stores open. So if you don't have anywhere to walk, or if it's winter, go check that out in your area. So.
It's actually a great idea because like the walking tracks and stuff outside probably aren't going to work for you if you're like living where we live, where it's really cold.
Yeah, and it gets a little old if you're just trying to walk in circles in your living room or something like that.
Yeah.
So.
Check out your malls.
Yeah. So doing cardio directly after your lifting session, if losing weight is your primary goal, can be a good idea because we're already at the gym. You just kind of tack on, depending on how you like to do cardio, 30 minutes to an hour of cardio right after you do your lifting. Technically, that could have a little bit of an impact to your muscle growth, but that's not your primary goal, and it's a very minor effect, so we're not really too worried about that. If you do it before your lifting session, you're probably just going to be really tired and not have a good lifting session. But you could also do it on totally different days if that's easier for you.
That's probably what I do.
Yeah.
You're going to be tired. You're not going to be able to give it your all anyways.
Yeah.
Spread it out. Spread the love.
And then most importantly for losing weight, keep your diet in check. That's going to be the most important thing to create a calorie deficit that's required for fat loss or weight loss. So again, if you're not really tracking your calories and you go super intense on your exercise, that might actually cause you to eat a lot more. Mm-hmm. And maybe you would actually be ending up with more calories than you would have if you didn't exercise. So if you are concerned about that, just track your calories.
Completely off the subject topic.
Yeah.
Okay. If you've been on social media at all, you've been seeing these weighted vests. Do those actually help with cardio?
I've actually been seeing, I guess there were some recent studies about this, and it turns out, no, not really.
Interesting.
I do use them for other things. Like people use them for pull-ups. I haven't used them for that before, but I use them for like calf raises and anything else where basically you need some extra body weight. So you can use them for push-ups, things like that. Anything where you're trying to do a body weight exercise that you want to put an extra load on, they're good for that. But apparently they don't really do much of anything for like walking or cardio.
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't even help your heart rate get up? It feels like it's harder, so your heart rate would be higher, right?
Yeah, it sounds like it does go up, but it's just not enough to make a difference.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
So you're saying all these TikTok girlies are scamming us?
Well, they probably think it works. So I don't know if scam's the right word, but it doesn't seem like it's working out in research to be worth it.
Don't trust influencers.
All right. So now let's talk about if your primary goal is building muscle. So this is maybe you don't have weight to lose, or you just don't really care about losing the weight and you're just primarily focused on building muscle. In this scenario, your lifting sessions are going to be the priority. So cardio is still useful for the general health benefits and also improving your work capacity and your recovery for your very hard lifting sessions, but they're not going to be like the primary thing you're going to focus on. So also make sure if you are in a calorie surplus, if you're building muscle, you're probably gaining weight. Keep that pretty low so you don't put on extra fat. You really only need to be in a surplus of like 250 to 500 calories a day to optimize muscle growth. Muscle does not grow that fast, and there's no reason to just put on an extra bunch of body weight. So like the old school dirty bulks and things like that where you're gaining 50 pounds over a year for some reason, it just doesn't make any sense. And
then you have to lose all of that too.
Yeah, you have to lose it all. You're creating health issues, raising your blood pressure, putting more strain on your heart, and you're getting no additional benefit for the most part. So I wouldn't recommend that. So if you're trying to build muscle, make sure you're lifting 3 to 4 times a week, 3 is probably going to get you like 90% of the way there. If you have extra time or you just want to have shorter workouts, you can spread that out to 4 times a week. Because if you have like an hour and a half session 3 days a week, you can probably cut that down to like a 50-minute session 4 times a week by just spreading out how you do your volume. I would probably still try to get in 2 cardio sessions a week, and probably on non-lifting days or just a totally different part of the day. So you could do like cardio in the morning and then lift in the evening, something like that, so it doesn't interfere with your workout. And again, that effect is pretty minor as far as interference, but like you were saying, you'll also just be kind of tired, and we just want to try to avoid that since our primary goal is building muscle in this case. And then try to minimize the high-intensity interval training cardio, if that's a cardio style you like to do, because that actually will kind of impact your muscle recovery a lot more than normal cardio, where you're doing it for 30 minutes to an hour.
Why is that?
So it's using your leg muscles a lot more than just normal cardio.
It wouldn't just build your muscles faster?
Well, no, because you're already doing your lifting sessions. But if that was all you were doing, it would certainly build your muscles faster. It's like how bicyclists have huge quads. They also do squats, but they're getting a lot of quad growth from bicycling.
So it's more like it takes so much energy from your legs or whatever that you wouldn't be able to do your actual lifting workouts as well because you'd be exhausted.
Right.
Is that basically,
yeah.
Okay.
It'd be like you snuck in a set of half-weight squats or something on days where you were trying to do recovery.
Right. So then when you go to actually do your workout, you're not going to perform as high.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and then the general recommendation for all goals is to try to do both cardio and resistance training, but just do them in a way that makes sense. You can lean more towards one or the other based on your specific priorities. The one that usually happens is like people just avoid cardio, right?
Well, yeah, because it sucks.
Yeah. And most people, it does suck. You can find a form that's fun, but even if it's not even if you're not trying to lose weight, it is really helpful and important to try to do it for the heart and lung benefits and like just daily life, moving around, things like that. So cardio is really good for you.
This was brought to you by the American Heart Association.
Okay, so now let's get into our myth of the week this week. And the myth is that animal products naturally have vitamin B12.
This one's kind of fun because, B12 is the one that vegans have to supplement. And this is the one that I hear a lot of non-vegans be like, I'm not going vegan because I don't want to live off vitamins and supplements for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I don't know why it's such a contentious topic, especially since vitamin B12 supplements are extremely cheap and easy to take.
I think it's just one of those easy outs.
Yeah.
Like they act like it would be unnatural to take a supplement.
Right. So ruminant animals, which are
What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like kind of like you think about mammals walking around that we tend to eat for meat. So it's like a cow, a deer, a goat, things like that.
Like things that eat grass?
Yeah. That's what ruminant.
Ruminant means things that eat grass.
More or less, yeah.
Okay. The things that eat grass.
Yeah. Bison also. Anyway, and I think this is where some of the confusion comes from on this whole vitamin B12 thing, because ruminant animals do synthesize their own B12, but it comes from them eating cobalt, which is a mineral. So they can only do that if they get enough cobalt or if they happen to eat. So vitamin B12 the original source of vitamin B12 is from like bacteria and
like mushrooms and stuff like that.
Right. So back in the olden days, ruminant animals would get enough B12 and naturally from the ground. In a modern farm situation, that's not really the case.
And humans would too.
Right, and humans would too.
Even if
we'd be eating dirty things a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
And from feces.
Good. So feces is an option.
So actually, in some cases, like with chickens, some of the B12 that they get does come from them eating feces.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's sad. But anyway, so most modern farmed ruminants don't get enough cobalt either from like grazing or something like that. So they get just a general mineral mixture supplemented into their food, and cobalt is one of the minerals. And they do it with the cobalt instead of B12 directly just because cobalt's a lot cheaper and it absorbs better and they can use their natural process.
Yeah, and I'm going to let you in on a little secret that if you're worried about having like supplemented or processed food from being vegan, you probably should look into what's going into your meat supply because they get pumped with a lot of shit.
Yeah, especially, if there's some kind of disease going around the farm or they're trying to avoid something, or like they have some sick animals, something
or
like
just
that.
like in general how chickens no longer even resemble their ancestors because we've pumped them full of so many hormones and stuff so that they grow faster.
Yeah.
I mean, the factory farms are not natural. They're not natural at all. They're like the furthest thing from natural you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, it's just a big like machine made to optimize how much output they get.
It's gross. So if you're grossed out by supplementing B12, you should really look into factory farming.
Right. So the ruminants basically are supplemented with cobalt, which may as well be, supplemented with B12. What's the difference, right? And so I don't see how that's any different than us just taking the supplement instead of the animal taking the supplement. So it's still not like a naturally occurring source from the animal with no intervention, which is what people seem to think it is.
Yeah, but they just don't know. Most people don't know about their foods.
Right. And that's just for the ruminants. So for the non-ruminants, which
chickens, turkeys,
turkey,
pigs.
pork, pigs, things like that, they exclusively get B12 from like direct B12 supplements in their feed. So it's just fortified with B12.
Just like vegan steak, bitches.
So the bottom line is basically vegans do need to take a B12 supplement, but so does everything else because in the modern world, there just aren't really good natural sources of B12 for anybody, animals or humans. At least farmed animals. Like animals out in the wild with everything growing, they're just eating whatever's in the forest and it's not pastures that have been reused 10 times, something like that. They're getting B12 through that. But farmed animals and humans don't really have reliable ways to get B12 for the most part.
Yeah.
Naturally.
And now there are some fortified with B12 foods that vegans can eat if they don't want to supplement. Like they make a fortified nutritional yeast, and I think several of the plant-based milk options have fortified B12, and so does some of the vegan cheeses, actually.
Yeah, I think they're putting it in a lot of things these days. There's not much downside.
Yeah. So. The other thing is like, if it's fortified, it's kind of the same as like supplementing anyways. So,
Right. And foods have been fortified for a long time. Like cereals have always been fortified. Vitamins and things. So
cereal used to be a food group. Even if you're eating like a lot of nutritional yeast and vegan cheese, I feel like I would still take a vitamin B12 supplement just in case.
Yeah, I'd still take it. It's water soluble. It's, I won't say impossible to overdose, but like extremely unlikely to overdose on a vitamin B.
Yeah, meaning you pee out the excess.
Right. And it's super cheap. Like you just take one a day. I don't know exactly what the cost is per month, but it's, I think, probably in the single digits.
Dude, I got a B12 deficiency before I went vegan. B12 deficiencies are highly common. They even have those, I remember at work, they had some stupid wellness fair. I guess it wasn't stupid. It was just a wellness fair. I just associate everything with that job as stupid. But they had a wellness fair, and they were going around, and they had a booth set up for B12 shots. So, like, they even have B12 shots, like, where it's, like, a very potent dose of B12.
Yeah.
But that's, like, a thing that you can get at various places.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've mentioned before, I ran into a slight B12 deficiency in my blood work at one point, eating a very standard American diet, back in the day. And I started taking B12 supplements, which are also very common in the fitness and nutrition space anyway. Like that's always been a very common thing. So I've always taken a B12 supplement for the most part for like the last, 20 years almost. So it's not even really a new supplement to me.
Yeah, it's just not even a big deal. Plus, like the side effects from having a B12 deficiency aren't great.
Oh, yeah.
You might as well just freaking take one.
Yeah. I think that we can say it's a myth that animals just all animals naturally magically create B12 with no help from supplements or anything like that.
Yes. Your animals are taking your vitamins for you. Stop being a little bitch.
Exactly. So next we have some updates on the protein deficient vegan front. What have you been cooking up?
Yeah. So by the time you hear this, it's still not New Year's, which means that you can still eat treats and desserts and junk food, right? I think that's the rule.
Yeah, the last week of the year.
Between Christmas and New Year's is just like no man's land. Yeah. That like you're not getting work done at work, like everyone's just being weird, right? Like you're just kind of like in this stasis. So I put out a couple more junk food dessert recipes that you might want to check out. Hello Dollies, which we actually took to my parents. My brother really likes them. He actually requested them.
Yeah.
And my brother does not request vegan food. He was like, they taste different than mom's. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's because I use Biscoff cookies instead of graham crackers. So
No, the Biscoff crust is clutch. That stuff is so good.
It is good. It adds like an extra warm, Christmassy taste to it. I also put out chocolate peppermint Rice Krispies, which, what did you think about those? Because you're not a big chocolate peppermint person.
So these I don't really like mint normally, but these, I don't know if it's just like seeing the little candy cane chunks on top or the fact that it's a white chocolate mint. Maybe it's just tricking my brain.
I mind fucked him.
Yeah, I really actually like these. So it might be the only mint dessert I've ever truly enjoyed other than the frozen Thin Mints, which you also put me onto.
Yeah.
I always hated Thin Mints until you told me to freeze them and whatever, that makes them good for some reason. So I like those.
I know,
too.
it's weird, right? So those are there too, and those are actually like 30% protein, so they're not too bad.
Yeah.
And they're like holiday festiveness. They're a good time. The Veganuary ebook, this is the 3rd annual one, is actually coming out on, January 1st.
If you're already on the mailing list, you may have already seen an advanced copy in your inbox by now.
Because you're special, and you should definitely join the mailing list if you're not already on it.
Yeah. If you're not already on the mailing list, just go to the proteindeficientvegan.com site and go to ebooks, and you can just sign up to directly get the Veganuary book right there.
It has 40 recipes for like breakfast, lunch, dinners, and desserts and snacks. And it's got a bunch of tips and tricks and stuff. And
110 pages.
It took forever to make, honestly.
It looks great, though.
It is my masterpiece.
Lots of good information in there, for sure.
Yeah, and it also has sample meal plans. So, like, if you are trying Veganuary, or if you're just if you've been a vegan for a while and you're trying to hit, like, a protein goal, it has sample meal plans at 1,500, 2,000, 2,500, and 3,000 calories. So it'll help you figure out how to hit your protein goal.
And the meal plans are for like a week or?
Yeah, they're just a week.
Okay.
But I also have some information on, I don't know how many of you guys know this, but I actually put all of my recipes into my FitnessPal as global foods. So it's really easy to use those to build your own meal plans inside of my FitnessPal. So I go through basically how I do it to come up with the sample meal plans.
We also have the Deficient Vegans Discord that we just started a couple of weeks ago. You can find the link to join that in the show notes. We're up to probably about 20 people now in there.
Mm-hmm.
We've had a couple of discussions, so it's going pretty well. I definitely recommend joining. Need more extroverts if that's your bag.
Yes, we're introverted, so we're not conversation starters. But if you are an extrovert or an introvert, we want you.
For sure.
We also like introverts.
They usually have the best memes, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You
got to speak volumes through very small interactions.
Right. And some days I talk entirely in GIFs.
I know you do. I'm aware.
If you have any other questions or feedback, you can contact us through send us a text link in the show notes, or if you just go to the social media links there or one of the websites, you can use the contact form to reach out. You can also leave a comment on Spotify, which a few people have been doing lately.
They're always so good.
As long as you're on Spotify or on Apple
YouTube.
Podcast or YouTube. Oh, yeah, you can leave comments on the YouTube if you do the podcast on YouTube thing. We're on there as well. And then if you could leave us a review on Apple Podcast or Spotify, that'd be awesome. Or just a like and a subscribe on the YouTube podcast channel. We'd really appreciate it. All right. Well, I think that's it. Do you want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Woo!